Hey Kevin, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you. I'm so appreciative that you were able to sit here with me for a few minutes and have a conversation.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Aw. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself so people know who you are.
Well, I'm Kevin Jones or Kevin Trammell Jones. Sometimes I use my middle name. But folks in Saginaw and very recently know me through the Blactiquing pop-ups, and Blactiquing being this intentional effort to collect, preserve, and share experiences, particularly Black experiences through artifacts and other items that I've collected through antique shops. But also, I'm a son. I mean, I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a nephew. I'm a friend. Most of my work is my professional works in nonprofit management and leadership development,
Oh, I
and
didn't know that. Okay,
a
cool.
lot of capacity building work in there. But really, committing to the social sector that we're measurable, sustainable, and making meaningful, equitable change in the work that we hope to do. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little bit
no,
about me.
awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. And I just think back to, I just met you some months ago, and I met you through Phil. Um, and he did a article or shared an article about you. I don't remember how it happened, but it was an article about what you were doing. And I was like, oh my God, I got to go see this. And sure enough, I was able to come and experience your display and all the artifacts and stuff that you have. And it is just absolutely breathtaking. And I encourage anybody who has an opportunity to come and share in that to go see it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate your support.
Oh yeah. I was like, whoo, let's go. Yes, yes, yes. So okay, so let's get into some of the questions. Um so what's one thing you would tell your younger self?
Hmm. So one thing I would tell my younger self um, is that Kevin, it's okay to play with dolls.
Mm,
And that was something that for a long time I didn't think was okay. I remember just some of my earlier experiences in school that was not allowed.
mm,
Um, and you know, and even reprimanded for playing with dolls and things of that nature. And I often use dolls very much symbolically as all those things are being told you can't do because you're X. You can't do this because you're dark skinned. You can't do this
right.
because you're too tall. You can't do this because you're black. You can't do this because you're a gay man. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
really telling my younger self that people will try to put limits on me. I've
Yeah.
tried to put limits on me, but it's okay to
Yeah.
break. It's okay to break free from those limits and pursue the things that you like, the things that you enjoy, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the ethos I live by now.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting you said that because I just saw someone write an article about that, and she was talking about how she allows her boys to play with the kitchen set,
Mhm.
and how kitchen sets was like of course with our age and stuff we were told at a certain age this is what the girls play with, this is what the boys play with. Boys had to play with like the fake tools and things of that nature, and girls had to play with the cooking stuff. But she wrote a whole article about that about how it's okay. She was saying it was okay for you to let your all children play with the kitchen set because it teaches them a lot of things, especially in the kitchen, and everybody can learn how to cook or learn how to navigate through the kitchen.
Yeah, there's chemistry, there's mathematics, there's just the love of communication. I remember that's where I learned my love of cooking, just being in the kitchen with my grandmother. And
Yes.
shout out to my cousin Julie and her easy bake oven, and Aunt Charlene for letting us steal eggs to make our mud pies and
Yeah.
put it in the easy bake oven. Uh,
Yes. No, I had one of those. Yeah, I remember those little cakes and things like that. But yeah, it's just, it's just really interesting. Like you said, the limitations, especially like for me, being a black woman, it's certain things people tell me that I shouldn't like or enjoy or associate with because I'm black.
right.
And it's just really interesting because I am a lover of learning. So I love to learn people, new experiences. So you might see me doing anything. Like you just have no idea just because that's just my personality. So it really is disheartening when people try to tell you, well, you shouldn't be doing that. It's like, well, you should probably stay in your lane, mind your business,
Right. Right.
especially when a person isn't hurting anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like learning how to see the joy in other people and even their activities versus critiquing them for whatever reasons. But we're getting better. I'm assuming folks are getting better, but let's continue to do the impossible, do the unthinkable, and inspire other people to do the same if that's what they want to do.
Indeed. And then that leads me to what's something in this life that brings you joy?
Yeah. So anytime I hear the word joy, I think of a few things. I do practice Christianity, but when I hear the word joy, I think of Whitney Houston.
Oh,
and so whether or not it is "You Bring Me Joy,"
right?
it does. Whitney Houston, her voice, her story, her triumphs. Even through her struggles, there's a lot of inspiration there, and I think it's through her music that I often, find joy. I find comfort. I find peace. I find, like, most people know that I cannot sing, but when I hit those runs and those riffs and I get into my upper registry and singing my falsetto, you can't tell me nothing. And, and it's those moments of just being out, really just even though I cannot sing and I will not sing in karaoke. I won't sing in front of people, but when I'm alone and I feel like I'm stressed, I'll put on music. I'll enjoy. I'll force myself to sing, and joy comes. So whether it's a gospel song or it's Panic at the Disco, I find ways to find joy in music.
Yes. Music is definitely one of my first loves, and it's like, and like you said, it's so therapeutic. When you are going through things or stress or whatever, man, you crank that up and you start dancing and singing. It just is such a release and such a healing moment. So I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. This generation really missed out on knowing her music in such a personal way, because she was definitely a powerhouse. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Man. And she was one of those people that defied people's boxes as well, because I know a lot of people, it was always this thing where if you were small and thin, you couldn't sing. Do you remember when people used to think like that? But if you were heavy set and whatever, you could belt out, and she defied all of that. So she was definitely a treasure for sure. Let's see. So what's the lesson you learned that you didn't understand at the time, but you do now?
So I'm going to frame this as a lesson that is becoming clearer to me.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, sure.
Because I'm also a lover of learning, and so I'm also sometimes wondering, do I ever know it all?
Right.
And lessons tend to unfold themselves in different ways, but we would get whoopings for saying I don't care.
I know. Yeah.
My grandmother, she didn't play that. Like, we were not allowed to say I don't care.
Yeah.
That could not be a response, especially not a response in anger.
Right.
And for a long time, I used to be mad, like, I don't care. I'm gonna still not care.
Right.
I'm gonna be defined and I care. And realizing that when you were, for me, when I being taught that there's a reason for caring.
Yeah.
For caring not just for yourself, but for caring for just almost everything.
Yeah.
That it becomes more of a worldview.
Sure.
And so sometimes people are like, okay, well, why are you involved with this? Why are you doing this? Okay, but who are these people?
Right.
And people know that I think it's from my grandmother that I've learned how to, care about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And find that connections. So that there are those opportunities to care, because I thought for a long time I was taught that I wasn't allowed not to care. And so whether or not that's, me, my friends say, Kevin, you so nosy. And it's like, no, I care.
That's a good way to rephrase that.
But also, either whether or not it's in philanthropic efforts, or it's in my work, profession, nonprofits, or even in my work to, collect, preserve, and share Black experiences. I want people to have access. I want people to have enjoyment. I want people to have full opportunity for participation. And I think that having a I care attitude you know, it helps us think about our earth and how we take care of the earth, how we
Yeah.
take care of our resources, how we see our neighbor, and how we
Yeah.
see a quote unquote stranger.
Hmm.
And so I've I'm learning more and more the importance of caring, but
Yeah.
also still learning the importance of, okay, you also have to care about yourself. And this is why I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, this lesson of, I'm not sure I fully got it, but it's becoming more and more clear that I
Yeah.
can do so much for everybody else.
Yes.
And sometimes that can be a way of not caring about myself. And so
That's
I'm
true.
also learning how to care.
Find that balance. Find that balance. Yes, yes.
Yes.
No, that's I like that. That's an interesting perspective because I didn't really would never think about it that way. And because when you talk about getting whooped for certain things for expressing yourself, you learn that maybe I'm wrong in feeling this way, and then you hold on to that. So, but yeah, it's okay to care, and I like how you rephrase that. So,
And not that I believe in whoopings and corporal punishment in that sense, but I do
right,
believe that it wasn't a whooping about saying I didn't care. It was the negative attitude associated with it, and the
right,
attitude and
and
trying to
being
pop off at
dismissive.
grandma. Yeah,
I,
you know, I
don't-
respect grandma because she know where the switch is at. So
that was one thing I will say that I was fortunate. My grandmother lived down in Texas and I was up in Ohio. And so we only saw her like a couple times a year, like for special occasions or just to visit. So it was always just a good time. I didn't really get those whoopings from her because for one, it was so many of us, and two, I think she just was so happy for us to all be there. And then with her, I guess we never had those more personal interactions like that because we
yeah,
were, like I said, we were just celebrating, you know what I mean? So it was like, the kids would go home to like another parent in the summer. It's just fun time, you know.
yeah.
Next question for you is if you could meet someone from the past or present, who would it be?
Speaking on this theme of grandmas, it would actually be one of my grandmothers. So my maternal grandmother, we were blessed that, when my grandfather died 6 months after my twin brother and I were born, she came to live with us. So moved from Gary, Indiana to here to Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay.
Um, but I never met any of my other grandparents, or that I remember. Again, my grandfather died when I was 6 months, and didn't meet my grandparents on my father's side. And recently, my uncle Roosevelt Jones, we had his funeral
Yeah.
a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and it's got me thinking more and more just about my grandmother Ethel Mildred Roman, who I know very little about.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what she looks like. I wonder if she looks like my aunts and my aunties and Carol and Aunt Ann, or if she, you know, has the complexions and resemblance of my dad, and the height, or just different things. So
Right.
I
Right.
I was telling my younger brother that how important it is that I want to learn more about Grandma Ethel.
Mm,
Um, and so, I'm intentionally speaking her name
yeah.
because she is someone that I want to know more about in terms of my own family,
Yeah.
my own legacy. Certainly, I would also meet Whitney Houston. So, like
Oh,
Grandma Ethel and Whitney, I'm sure they probably hanging out, but I would meet both of them too.
yeah. 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 Whitney, like I said, she was a powerhouse, and just so she was who she was unapologetically, and I always admired that about her for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And if I could get one more answer to that,
Oh, sure.
today is World AIDS Day. In the '80s
Oh,
we
I
loved,
didn't know that.
yeah, and for a few decades we've been celebrating on December 1st, World AIDS Day, to pay
Oh,
tribute to the lives we've lost, but also a commitment to those of us who are living with HIV, those of us who are trying to prevent it. Um, you know. Um, just globally and in our own circles. And
yeah.
so we know that as a Black gay man, we lost a number of people. We lost generations, particularly of Black people and just other folks that could have inspired generations. We lost artists. We lost,
Oh, yeah.
we lost business leaders and entrepreneurs. We lost so many people.
Yeah.
And so I do want to, speak in remembrance of their lives and their
Yeah.
contributions, so that we're at the place where we are today, and making some progress around just public health in general, but also around this fight to end HIV and AIDS around the world.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, and to educate people so people understand what it really is. Because I remember growing up, I know now that people died from AIDS, but then people wouldn't tell you. It was
Yeah,
like this shame and secrecy and things of that nature. But most of the people who I knew then who died from AIDS looked a certain way right before they died. Like it was like this look, of thinness and
yeah,
whatever. And a lot of times, especially growing up in the church, a lot of times there were men in the church who were homosexual, but we weren't allowed to talk about it. It
yeah,
was like this secrecy and this shame. And so even though now as an adult, I'm like, well, of course he was. I mean, everybody, you could tell, but nobody ever talks about it. So
yeah,
I am for one happy that we can openly have dialogue and be real about what's going on in each of our lives. So people that are going through it don't have to carry that burden of shame because all of us are uncomfortable with talking about it.
right,
I
right.
mean,
And I think, yeah, thank you. I think it's the shame, you're eradicating that shame and stigma, because there's still people even to this day that you know are not benefiting from the advances in medication that are available. Even
right.
though it's available, sometimes the shame and stigma will keep someone from taking that pill that could, boost their immune system.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's not necessarily the 80s, but unfortunately, we're still losing young people,
Yeah.
and as well as others to HIV. So we have to keep it on our radars, for those of us who are advocates in this area, or those of us who just are loving and compassionate people, love on your people,
Yes.
ask
Yes.
them how they're doing, and I think we can do this together.
Yes, I'm just so thankful that we are educating people and people are not so ignorant. I read an article one time of a young man who was born with HIV, and he showed, he said what people think. He started off with what people think my life is like, and then he showed all the beautiful things that he is doing in his life, and he's like, we are out here living, like, because a lot of times people hear that and they like sentence you to death. It's like you instantly going to die. So I just like that people are feeling free enough to share information so people are more informed as opposed to staying in this closet, so to speak, of like ignorance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We in the 80s they came up with this slogan of silence equals death. And that was partially because Ronald Reagan wouldn't even talk about, AIDS, the AIDS
Yeah.
crisis in the first, years of his administration,
Yeah.
and mainly quiet. But even in our personal lives, we, many of us know that if we're silent about this, it can mean our own deaths, whether or not it's our
Yeah.
own family members not checking up on us because we didn't tell them, or what have you. So I'm
Yeah.
just glad to have people like you, people, just anybody, just willing to provide these platforms and opportunities to have these conversations.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for us to be able to do that. So if you had some words of encouragement to leave with us today, what would they be?
Just remember that a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. There's so many opportunities right now for us to either be in our own shells or be under our own mask,
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
literally and symbolically.
Right. Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
there are also other people that, there's just an opportunity for us to make some friends, to make some genuine friendships with people.
Yeah.
So I encourage us all to just remain open, remain caring,
Yeah.
think about other people. When you're out and about and that person has their mask only covering their mouth, just walk the other direction. Don't feel like you need to go confront them.
I know.
Don't go. Don't even breathe on you. Just walk the other way. Just walk the other way.
Yes.
So
I'm
I'm
laughing.
silly, but
No, I'm laughing because people really are making that their mission. And it's like, you know, people are just very tense and angry these days, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
And so I like what you're saying, make connections, be open, and also the person making a connection, but also the person that could possibly receive it, be open to receiving somebody new, or a new opportunity. It
yeah,
doesn't mean you guys are gonna be best friends, but just that short dialogue or just that conversation of asking somebody how are they doing could be life-changing, literally.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here. Definitely will share Blactiquing and you know all of its platforms. You're doing a beautiful work with that. And what I like about that, I will just say for people who are listening, and I'll say to you, I really love that not only are you sharing, of course, history and you know artifacts, but also it provides a space for conversation and you know music and connection. You know, even when I was there, when me and my son went, it was just like real cool. Your parents were there, you know, music was going, we were talking, and it just was laughter. So just it's a warm environment. So I really, really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, thank you. Well, I mean, that's also because you and your son, you know, y'all a whole vibe in and of yourself, and you know, so everybody that's watching, they already know this because we big fans of you. So I just thank you for your smile, your generosity, your kindness, your words of encouragement, and your willingness to share, just even your family with my family. So thank you.
Yeah, it was nice. It was like when we drove off, we were like we could have stayed there for a lot longer because it just was just really warm. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Whenever you set up again in Saginaw, make sure you, of course, I'm sure you will, but you'll let us all know so we can come out and support you for real.
Yep. So something's coming soon. Can't make the
Oh,
announcement yet. Something's coming soon. So
oh, I can't. Oh, I'm excited. I got to get my. You know, I need to order my press badge off of Amazon.
You got it.
So I can get my first dibs, get in as press. But
Yeah,
yes.
you on the press list. You know, we
Yeah.
also keep doing everything free. That's the other piece. So you know, you always got entry.
Awesome. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to hear your good news. So I wish you well and have a good one.
Thank you, you too. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.